So welcome yet again to another episode of No Gimmicks Podcast. This is Todd Smith out here in Bristol, Connecticut. Joining me is my tag team partner, Dale Clifford, out there in Fernley, Nevada. Dale, what's good, my man?
A lot, Todd. We're on day 2 of our new format to the No Gimmicks Podcast. This is a Tuesday breakdown of Smackdown Live from last week as we get you set for tonight's Smackdown Live, which is the go-home episode before SummerSlam. We got a couple things to run through. Obviously, tag team match with Dean Ambrose and Dolph Ziggler working together to take on the remnants of the Wyatt family of Bray Wyatt and Eric Rowan.
Yes.
Randy Orton, some more stuff with him. Heath Slater got his chance at a contract. American Alpha had another match. And then we have some craziness going on in the women's division.
Some wardrobe malfunctions.
Yeah. So anyway, let's get to what was the main focus of SmackDown Live right now was building up this tension between Dean Ambrose and Dolph Ziggler for the WWE Championship.
Yeah, so we got Dean and Dolph pretty much being paired up to go up against Bray Wyatt and Eric Rowan. So first off, I must point out, yeah, it is a bit strange seeing the Wyatt family is just a tag team once again, this time with Bray and Eric Rowan. Basically, the result was Ziggler wound up getting the win here after he hit a super kick on Rowan. But then Ambrose comes at Ziggler after the match, and he nails him with the dirty deeds. So, basically the two of them are working together towards the common goal of the enemies, the Wyatt family, but then it just kind of pits right up, with the tension that both of these guys are very serious about, the WWE Heavyweight Championship here. Just my take on this, this was a pretty decent tag team match. It's interesting seeing Eric Rowan, kind of back in action once again here. He really hasn't changed much, since the time that he's been kind of off screen. I'm not really seeing any real improvement out of him in the ring or anything. It'll be interesting to see, as I said before in the past, where Luke Harper's going to wind up. Is he going to possibly be paired up with these guys at some point in time, or are they going to possibly send him down a different path, kind of like what they did with Braun Strowman over there in the Raw brand? Some good stuff out of both Dean and Dolph Ziggler here. Dolph Ziggler, doing his usual stuff, putting on, a good match and showing off like only he knows how to. Dale, what's your take on this one?
It was pretty good, and definitely another step in the trying to build up the win total now for Dolph Ziggler.
Yes.
Like we're trying to erase everything that happened before the draft with the numerous people, Dolph Ziggler included. So. And definitely also seems like we might be moving more towards him using the super kick as more of the finisher than the zigzag, even though they're both up there. Maybe trying to get them both kind of as an equal playing field move so that when he hits the super kick, you kind of think that maybe that might be a way to finish the match more than just kind of something that he just throws out in a match now. I am, though, disappointed that Bray doesn't look like he's going to weave himself into making this a triple threat at SummerSlam, and now it looks like Bray's going to be off of the card itself, which I'm going to be a little bit bummed for on that one, because I definitely like seeing everything Bray does and was hoping that he would be on the summer's biggest show. So hopefully maybe they can squeeze something out tonight with the go-home episode to get him something, but I doubt that you make something happen for SummerSlam on the final episode that we don't already expect to be coming.
Yeah, Bray's getting lost in the shuffle a bit here. Like I said, you and I both agree we're still waiting for him to get that big landmark win in his career. He just has not had that yet. It's like, how long are they going to wait to give that guy that big win? And him getting left off of, probably the second biggest show of the year. I said, that's really just unfortunate. It truly is if they go in that direction with him. As for Ziggler using the super kick as a finisher, I am completely opposed to that because the super kick at this point has become such a commonly used move. So many wrestlers use it, and we always talk about the Young Bucks from over there in ROH and how they just, it's a gratuitous amount of super kicks that they hand out. I actually kind of more of a fan of the zigzag. The zigzag is kind of almost similar in a way, not as cool of a move as Orton when he hits his RKOs out of nowhere. He can kind of hit that zigzag from out of nowhere.
Yeah.
It's just kind of such a simple looking move, but Dolph Ziggler is just so athletic, he makes it look so cool. So hopefully, he's just kind of trading off, using it, every now and then kind of thing. But I hope that it doesn't become his clear cut finisher. From here on out. That's just my take, though.
Yeah, I don't see how in terms of WWE the super kick can be a finisher. That seems like we've been there, done that, and it is kind of owned and operated by Sweet Chin Music of Shawn Michaels.
Yes, without question.
Even though I do say that they are kind of now trying to make Dolph resemble HBK a little bit.
Just a little bit, yeah. Especially with the gear.
Yep, there you go, yep.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Maybe he needs to come out singing his own theme song as well. And maybe he needs a 2016 version of Sensational Sherry there on the side. But, I mean, it's funny because now that you brought that up, it actually would be kind of cool, even though HBK is long gone from the ring, if they would have ran some sort of an angle featuring HBK. Where maybe he would have came out and kind of given Dolph Ziggler kind of a cosign. And basically saying, hey, I was the original showstopper, but now the ring is yours, my friend. You are the show off. I want you to finish people off with Sweet Chin Music or something like that. That would make it kind of cool.
Yeah, that would have been kind of cool. And I think could have helped boost Dolph a little bit more into that spotlight of being the top guy instead of kind of just being this throw-in safe pick as you dubbed him a couple weeks ago.
Yeah. And it's funny because I just referenced how the zigzag kind of resembles, but how you could just kind of hit that move out of anywhere. Speaking of our Nets person here, Randy Orton. Randy Orton took on Alberto Del Rio. He won by DQ because Alberto Del Rio whacked him with a chair. But Orton just once again recovers and hits him with an RKO out of nowhere. Dale, your thoughts on this?
I definitely like how they are playing up the shoulder angle in Randy Orton's matches and making him have to test out this shoulder. He did it in the very first match that he had back, and obviously Del Rio was going to work trying to soften up that arm for the cross arm breaker. And then obviously he got frustrated and tried to go to the route of the steel chair, and there waiting for him was a RKO out of nowhere. And again, trying to set up the devastating nature of that move as we get closer and closer to his run-in with the Beast Incarnate, Brock Lesnar.
Yes. Definitely some decent psychology used in the last couple matches featuring Orton. The stuff he did with The Miz and with Alberto Del Rio, especially with him having that the cross arm breaker, which he uses a lot of the time as a finisher. Yeah, just kind of wearing him down and just kind of weakening it, kind of thing. But then he just shows his he just puts his resiliency on display. By hitting that RKO completely out of nowhere. And speaking of things coming from out of nowhere, not on this past week's edition of SmackDown, but the week prior, Rhino actually hit Heath Slater with a gore from out of nowhere during a backstage segment. So this week we got, if Heath could possibly, go over Rhino, he would get a contract and he would wind up signing with the SmackDown brand. As we know, Rhino wound up being victorious. Yet there was a bit of a bittersweet moment for Heath there, as he's kind of venting his frustrations at the end of the match. Correct, Dale?
Yeah, he. It looked like Daniel and Shane were getting close to maybe talking about offering up Heath a contract, and Heath couldn't keep his mouth closed enough with his building frustration about neither Raw nor SmackDown offering him anything, that he opened up and called Shane and Daniel dummies, and
almost would think it was Eli Drake there for a second.
Out and yeah, he called them dummies and idiots, and walked out, and then obviously we hear Shane and Daniel say, well, guess we're not going to offer him a contract after all.
Yeah, so I'm not sure. Where do they go with Heat from here? I mean, are they going to possibly extend this angle out a little bit further, or are they going to possibly wind up sending him down to NXT? I mean, what do you think comes next out of this?
I don't know. It's like you kind of feel like that's it for his goings on SmackDown.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe he's going to get another chance on Raw.
Possibly.
Or maybe he does end up getting approached by a contract from William Regal and goes down to NXT, which I don't think would be a bad move for him down there.
Yeah, because
even though the rosters, it's a pretty solid NXT roster as we're getting that they're putting back in place after losing a couple superstars to the main roster. But Heath could definitely go down there and I think get more attention put on him than he is currently getting on the main roster, even though right now he's in the battle for a contract, so he's getting a fair amount of TV time.
And the thing is, if he were to return back to Raw to try to get, signed by them, it's funny that you bring that up here, he already has it written in storyline. He got stabbed in the back by his former partner and friend, Jinder Mahal.
Yep.
When Jinder Mahal made his return to television after several years of being gone from WWE, here's Heath Slater going on and on and on, talking about how tight they are, and they're the two-man band and all that stuff, and they're brothers. And then Jinder goes and grabs a ref, nails him with a huge boot, pins him, and he secures the contract for himself over there in Raw. So yeah, I'm thinking, they either go that route and explore that a little bit, or as you said, yeah, maybe he could just be one of those guys who's been experienced and has been around the WWE long enough to work with the guys down there in NXT a little bit. Possibly.
Yeah, but I could see definitely your aspect of him not being done with a Jinder on Raw. So who knows? I don't think we've seen the end of Heath in his trials and tribulations of getting signed to an actual roster. Yeah. So it'll be interesting to see where it works out for him.
I'm not one to dwell on others' misery, but I must say, Heath, you're doing a hell of a job entertaining us all this throughout your painful process of trying to secure a contract with the WWE there. So, speaking of some guys from NXT who have came up to the main roster recently, let's talk about American Alpha. Now, I'm quite sure you and I will agree on this. I think that American Alpha is not only the best tag team on the Smackdown brand, I actually think that they are the best tag team on the WWE roster. What's your thoughts on that, Dale?
WWE roster, that's a big one. I still think that Anderson and Gallows can hang with the best of them.
Yes. Although their showing has not been too impressive as of yet, though.
No, you're right. It's like
in WWE.
terms of a WWE TV, definitely American Alpha definitely seems like the top team to deal with, and I definitely think we're headed towards a situation where they're going to be, whenever it gets announced, I believe American Alpha is going to become the first WWE SmackDown Live Tag Team Champions in this new era.
It's looking that way. So, basically, we had them versus two jobbers who looked completely lost out there, and American Alpha basically had to walk them through that match. They did a good job doing so, and they made short work of the two jabrones. And then at the conclusion, there was a huge brawl, which broke out between basically all of the SmackDown Live tag teams. So we had American Alpha out there, we had the Vaudevillains, the Hype Bros, and then whom else do we have out there? The Ascension, correct? Yep. Now, you brought this to my attention before we begin the show. You said noticeably missing from that whole melee there was whom? The Usos. What's up with that? Where are the Usos at?
I believe we have another one of them got injured, and they are off of TV again.
Oh, boy. Yeah, it's interesting how things have worked out with those guys, man. I mean,
it seems like they are becoming WWE's the Wolves.
Yeah. It's sounding that way, possibly. And also, I actually just pulled something up here really quick, Dale. And this might also add to the frustration for the Usos. Vince McMahon is apparently very unhappy with these two guys. Okay? As I just alluded to, they have not been seen on WWE television lately. And it was actually reported, as you said, that Jimmy was out of action due to an unknown injury. However, he was actually expected to return last week. But it is reported that Vince McMahon is very frustrated with the Usos because of them being prone to injuries quite a bit for that very reason.
Man, that's unfortunate because definitely would have liked seeing some matches with the Usos and American Alpha.
Yeah, Yeah, that would have been a great, match there between those four. But yeah, I don't know. Those guys are just kind of fading, and they came on so hot, like I said, and they've really, really lost momentum. They truly did when Jay got hurt,
Yeah, Jay got hurt, and then being paired with the Boo Machine Roman Reigns did not help them either.
Yeah. That drugged them down a little bit. And I actually kind of like the little pairing they had going on with Naomi. Naomi, who of course married into the family. That was a decent little pairing that they had going on there with them. So yeah, it's very interesting. But out of those 4 tag teams that they have on the SmackDown Live brand, I think American Alpha definitely stands out the most out of the 4. I would have to put them at the top because, like I said, we weren't even sure really if we were going to get the Hype Bros as a tag team, or if they were going to kind of just have Ryder and Moho kind of go separately and do their own thing. The Ascension never really ever caught fire like they should have on the main roster. They definitely were much more successful on the NXT roster. And then you've got the Vaudevillains, who I actually think are pretty talented, but as you said, Gotch has got some heat on them for the first incident when he injured Enzo a couple months back during the pay-per-view, and then he got into a backstage altercation not too long ago where you said Sin Cara, as Paul Heyman would say, beat his ass, basically, because he was getting out of line backstage.
Yeah. You know that if you added Enzo and Cass to this tag team field on SmackDown Live, it's basically NXT's division over the last couple years? Yeah. Pretty much. So basically, SmackDown Live's tag team division is the NXT call-ups of the last year.
Yeah. It's very interesting that you point that out, Dale. Yeah. So
except for the Ascension, they've been up there for 2 years, but and they're the longest reigning NXT tag team champions. Hopefully, they can get some of that mystique that they had when they were the dominant NXT tag team. Hopefully, they can refine that on SmackDown Live, because they certainly haven't gone in the right direction since being called up to the main roster.
And it's funny because you have so many tag teams that just have tried to mimic the Road Warriors. Not just currently, but even through the years. I mean, you've had guys like Demolition, the Powers of Pain, the Ascension. Now, it was even rumored, believe this or not, that they were actually originally going to go with the idea of the Authors of Pain being called the Legion of Doom. Did you hear about that?
No, I did not. Wow.
And that was part of the reason why they brought Paul Ellering back originally. So
they would have instantly killed that tag team.
Yes, and I'm so glad that they decided to give them the Authors of Pain moniker. That's a cool name. I like it. I don't know what names they're going to decide upon for those guys, but I mean, they're kind of like co-authors of pain. I don't know. I think they should almost give them names after like famous novelists or something like that. I think that might be kind of cool. But we're going off topic here. My whole thing is with the Ascension, I think the Ascension need to go back to what they once were. When they were on NXT, they didn't have the pseudo Road Warriors gimmick. So let them go back to what they were when they were actually successful. And yeah, maybe they can make a pretty decent run on the SmackDown Live brand there. But moving on here to lesser entertaining things. So Eva Marie has had a knack for getting herself out of matches here lately. About a week or so ago, she had what was supposed to be an injury that got her out of a match. And then this past week, she had a wardrobe malfunction, which resulted in her not having her match against Becky Lynch. So instead, we wound up getting Becky Lynch versus a debuting Alexa Bliss, speaking of NXT call-ups, on the SmackDown brand. And Alexa actually wound up getting the win after a disturbance from Ia. What was your take on this, Dale?
Yeah, as Eva got out of that match with the wardrobe malfunction and then somehow managed to get herself corrected and show back up at the end of the match to help Alexa Bliss get the win over Becky. So definitely it seems like we're headed in the direction of a feud between Eva Marie and Becky Lynch at some point when WWE maybe feels like Eva Marie can actually put on I'm assuming that the hold here is because they're waiting to make sure she can actually get all over in a main roster match, which is just so silly to me to see her called up knowing that I don't know if they're 100% confident in her in-ring ability yet.
They are not. They are not. Eva Marie is terrible in the ring. She has no presence in the ring whatsoever. Basically, she's got the look going for herself, and the crowd just absolutely loathes her. They absolutely cannot stand this woman. So yeah, if she could even just put on something even like passable in the ring, she would be the top heel in the women's division over there on SmackDown easily. But yeah, right now she can't work her way out of a wet paper bag, man.
Another thing I wanted to mention about this matchup is again obviously pushing her in the direction of a feud with Becky Lynch, who Alexa called SmackDown Live's first women's draft pick. Becky is like constantly losing.
Yeah. They've done nothing with Becky so far.
Why is she the put-over talent on SmackDown Live?
Yeah.
When she really wasn't even established as any talent yet.
Yeah, I really don't know. And like I said, Alexa Bliss basically makes her debut match and she gets the win over the number one pick. So if anything, yeah, that's more of a cosign saying, okay, yeah, you know what? She's the one who maybe we need to roll with here. I'm not sure. The booking for the women's division really is not making any sense on the SmackDown brand. You kind of brought this up on one of our previous episodes saying, basically, what are they fighting for right now since there's no women's title? Besides pride and respect, basically, trying to put on the best possible match they can for the WWE Universe. What else is there really for them to wrestle for?
And honestly, that is about it. Is like you have sort of established Becky Lynch with a new call-up Alexa Bliss, and then you have Carmella getting into this thing with Natalya.
Which leads us to our next order of business.
Yep, Carmella in her debut match is like against the longtime veteran Natalya, so it seems like you kind of have
a trend here.
The newbies against the established women. But again, as we've hit on, what the heck are they fighting for right now on SmackDown? Is I guess maybe trying to just get a name out there for themselves so that maybe if the show comes up with the Women's Championship, they'll be in line to be in that match to be the first SmackDown Live Women's Champion. I don't know.
Yeah. And I actually like the addition of Carmella to the main roster, and they've also done a pretty good job of distancing her from the gimmick that she had, basically as being the second to the ring for Enzo and Cass. She's more embracing the whole Princess of Staten Island thing that she's got going on for. I did the little moonwalk thing she's got going. Her look is cool, and I think I mentioned to you guys once before, even during one of our little group text discussions. She actually is a second-generation wrestler. Her father, Paul Van Dale, who was an enhancement talent in the WWF back in the day, actually was the guy who Razor Ramon got his debut victory against. So wrestling is in Carmella's blood, It's interesting because they have not brought that up once in her time in either NXT or WWE. I don't recall, at least. It was very, very surprising to me, though, to see her tap Natalya out. I think that was the most surprising thing about that match for me. You agree?
It was a little bit surprising, but again, it definitely seemed like if she's going to be someone of importance on SmackDown Live, they got to get her established on the right foot. It was her official debut match, so it makes sense for her to kind of win in the debut. You don't really like seeing new stars that are going to be main attraction stars lose that debut match. And you kind of got to stir the pot on the feud between her and Natalya as we go forward.
Right. Yeah. So I mean, hopefully they will get some some opportunities more in the future here. Once they actually debut. A set of tag team titles and also a woman's title over there on the SmackDown brand. But real quick here, since this is our go-home episode of the No Gimmicks podcast covering the SmackDown Live brand, just kind of your thoughts. Want to get an idea as to whom you have in each match coming up for SummerSlam from the SmackDown brand matches, Dale. So Dean versus Dolph Ziggler for the WWE title. What's your thoughts on that?
I want to see Dolph Ziggler reestablish his climb back to the top of the ladder, but I'm gonna have to go with I think Dean Ambrose is gonna win this thing.
Yeah, I'm in agreement with you on that. I think, as I said before, I still agree that I think they were going the safe bet with Dolph Ziggler. I just think they had too many other guys wrapped up in feuds at the time, so they kind of saw him as the safest pick in terms of being able to deliver a good match and whatnot. But they expected us to forget about all of the losses that Dolph has had in recent memory.
Right.
Including those losses, on the pre-shows to Baron Corbin.
Right.
Of all people, and whatnot.
Now, I do believe in the other match, like basically we didn't even really talk about this one much, so I wanted to make sure we got it in, and this is kind of a perfect spot for it. We have John Cena versus AJ Styles.
Yes.
I'm picking AJ Styles because I believe he is the next guy in line to challenge Dean Ambrose for the WWE Championship.
Yes. I'm in agreement with you on that one as well. I think John, at this point in his career, I think has finally gotten to the point to where he's kind of almost serving as like a builder and also almost like a mentor probably to some of the younger talents. And I think, he's accepted that role for quite, I'd say, maybe about the better part of the past year, even, I would say. He hasn't had a world title run in a little bit now, which is, kind of solidified what I just said. And also, AJ had even alluded to the fact that the club might possibly continue over there on the Smackdown brand. And it would be very, very interesting to see who they would possibly consider introducing for that storyline if they decide to go in that direction. Yeah, I think AJ has everything to lose here by losing to Cena. And I don't really think John really has that much to lose. So, yeah, my pick with that one is AJ as well. How about Brock versus Randy Orton?
I got Brock Lesnar.
Got Brock.
I got to continue with here's a big push on the big-time pay-per-views is the guy that, remember, he's the guy that ended the streak. It still has to...
I say Brock as
well.
well.
For something that he's the guy that ended the Undertaker streak at WrestleMania.
I think the main reason that they're doing this match, and they brought it up, they kind of alluded to it this past week here on Raw, it is the first time that Randy Orton and Brock Lesnar have actually faced each other on a pay-per-view. And it's kind of tough to believe that. Now, Brock was gone for a while. He had this whole little sabbatical where he went over to the UFC and he left and he played in the NFL there for a second before he got cut from the Vikings, I believe it was. But, it's kind of crazy to think that those two never actually crossed paths. But I think, Brock is going to be victorious in that one as well. So this one here is a bit of a toss-up. Miz versus newly NXT talent who came up to the main roster throughout the last couple of months here, Apollo Crews. Who do you take in that one for the IC title, Dale?
I think I'm going to have to go with The Miz, even though I think this could be a prime opportunity for Apollo Crews to win the Intercontinental Championship and move on his ladder up SmackDown Live and becoming maybe their top newbie star. I think The Miz is just a prime position to continue to reign as the Intercontinental Champion. He just has a good thing going when he is a champion. It's been a long time since he's been at the top of the mountain, but he always seems to excel just when he has a belt around his waist.
And I think Apollo has a very bright future. The guy has got the physical skills, he's got the athleticism, he's got the size, he's got the look. He's very charismatic, and the crowd, I think, is beginning to develop a liking to him up there, in the main roster. I just think now is not the time for Apollo. I think this is great that he's getting this opportunity to get the experience of being out there with a vet like The Miz, but I think his opportunity is going to come a little bit later. With that being said, we would like to go ahead and wrap up our SmackDown discussion here for the week. So thanks for joining us on this edition of the No Gimmicks podcast. Please continue to check our YouTube page, subscribe. Also, check us out at the No Gimmicks PC on Twitter. Like our Facebook page, and also check in on Monday afternoons for my LinkedIn updates that I have, posting up some of the links from our podcast throughout the week. So Monday through Friday now, actually, with all of our content that we're going to be producing over the course of the week. Check back from time to time my LinkedIn page. So for my tag team partner, Dale Clifford out there in Fernley, Nevada, and for myself, Todd Smith here in Bristol, Connecticut, thanks for joining us on this edition of No Gimmicks Podcast, recapping SmackDown. Until next time, you all take care.